Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. We have some cool guys in the box today, man. As you can see, I'm Mr. U. Thanks again for joining us. If you're watching us and listening for the very, very first time, thanks for making us part of your week. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. And of course, the listening platforms I have this show available, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, however you listen to your podcast. You'll have it about an hour and a half after the show wraps. So thanks again for jumping in, fellas. How you guys doing tonight? All's well?
All's well.
Rory's
Rory's tonight.
good.
Rory is just too cool for school, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm called to a higher purpose, brother.
Too high for the rest of us, clearly. Yeah. But it's all good, though. Well, last week, we kind of started another series. And as expected, it exceeded my expectations. We talked about business versus busyness. And it really began to expose some things that I think we'll be talking about for the remainder of the month in regards to the things that we put out there that we call business, but it's just really busyness in disguise. After y'all, if you guys haven't watched, you guys are watching and listening. If you haven't heard the episode yet, please go back and check it out because it's going to give you better context for what we're going to be talking about tonight as well. It's available on YouTube right now, Facebook, I believe, also. Instagram and LinkedIn have full versions of it as well, I believe it. Or Instagram does not, LinkedIn does. And of course, all your listening platforms. But we were talking about that. Did you guys have any takeaways after that? Because last week we were like, we really we got all the meat off of the bone on that one topic regarding identity versus activity and everything. So you guys have any thoughts about that? Anything that kind of jumped out as we lead into today's episode? Don't be shy. Go ahead and share.
I'll start. I'm the new guy, right? So I'll come on and jump right in. So the last week's episode really did hit me in a way that made me reevaluate a lot of the stuff that I was doing, and a lot of the stuff that instead of being busy and thought it was business, I was just being busy to avoid the business. And if you guys understand what I'm saying, I was making myself so busy that I wasn't focused on how to do what I'm doing. So that talk you guys did last week was one of the ones that made me do that more now. And that's what I'm focused on now. I'm a part of the business now instead of the busyness. So I'm flipping it a little bit there for you. So instead of just being busy, so just a little bit, but yeah.
I love it. Thanks, Javi. All right. Sure. What about you?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I want to welcome Javier to the show too, man.
Thanks, man.
And honestly, brother, you just mentioned that about the busy and busyness thing. He's been. I got to give you a shout out. You took all your busy this week, and turned it all into business, like stuff you weren't even thinking about, and all of a sudden you're just pounding it out. And he's killing it. By the way, if any of you guys need graphic art done, this guy, right over here, just absolutely fantastic. He's fantastic.
Absolutely, I vouch for that. For sure.
But I loved it, man. I really did. I think it's a conversation we had to have. I think everybody has to have that because we all fall for it. Every one of us in one way, shape, or form has fallen for that over time, where because we're really busy and because we're really packed, we feel like we're doing something that is meaningful. And most of the time, and I think that's the kick, is we're avoiding what we really need to be doing. So I think it's huge. I think it was huge.
Love it. BD, how about you, Rick?
This whole session, this whole series is really near and dear to my heart right now because I'm in the middle of a major pivot with my business. And so I'm having to really, like, every decision, everything I'm doing. I have almost all of my shows on hold right now. Like I've been doing, 5 shows, or if you count this one, 6 that I'm a part of, right? But I got 5 other shows. I'm only doing one of them right now. Like I actually just sacked one of them completely. Like I just wiped it off the board. It's gone. The Dad Hat Shenanigans podcast is over. And my podcast I've been doing for, I started back in 2020 when I first started podcasting, has been on hold along with all my other shows. And I'm probably sandbagging one of the other ones entirely because it's just not serving as I make this big pivot. And so I'm reevaluating, time spent every decision I make. And so this one is just like you told us we were going to start this series. So I was like, dude, I feel so called out right now. Not in a bad way, but it's like, it's really, honestly, it's like really helping me pair into this season of change. Because I mean, all businesses go through seasons of change where you may have to change the way you offer things, or even, you know, the business model, right? And in the middle of this big pivot going on right now for me, it's like, okay, I have to reevaluate things I've been doing for years now. And questions like, is this actually doing something for my business, or am I just, is this busy work that I make myself feel better with?
Yeah.
And so it's really put my feet to the coals this time around. So
I love that. I love that. And this is what, I mean, every time we get the opportunity, the privilege to do what we're doing, we hear from different people in our world and our circles of influence. It usually gets back to me in some way, shape, or form. And we just, we come on this show, we cut on ourselves for the most part. That's kind of what's just happening. I mean, we come out here and we lay it all out. And honestly, you guys have exceeded my expectations in degrees I can't even explain or quantify. So I don't mean the guys that are some of our panelists that come through. I'm talking about the people in the chat, the people who are watching, listening from a safe distance, because they're not ready to jump into this pool yet and get their feet wet yet. I didn't think it would happen this quick. I thought it'd be years before the guys start, showing some of the layers and say, you know what? I'm a man, but I still got emotions and feelings, and I still got value, and I'm still important in all of this stuff. It happened quick. And I'm like, that's a testament to you guys willing to grow and to embrace change, man. So I'm excited about it, man. Last week we were just talking about identity and ownership, because sometimes, I feel as though, and I was a former victim of it myself, allowing my business to define who I was supposed to be, People say, who are you? The first thing that comes out of our mouth is, what we do, what position we hold, what our office or title is. And, the who are you question goes so much deeper than that. It does feed the purpose. It goes a lot deeper than that. So I want to kind of cut through some of the identity issue that we have with business versus busyness. The guy in the garage is going to be the analogy I'm going to use for the entire month, because I can't think of a better one. If you can, we'll use that. But that's what I see in my mind. The guy in the garage, he knows there's some things need to be addressing. It could be the way his kids are acting. It could be the tension between him and the missus. It could be people in his life that he knows he probably should create some distance between him and them, but he doesn't do it, Or that neighbor who just gets on his nerves and he won't say anything. He just festering and boiling beneath the surface, And those are the folks that explode at some point in time. A number of scenarios can fit in that category, but he's in the garage, tinkering away, not doing any real work, just kind of just hiding behind the wrench and tools and clanging sounds, not really doing what, needs to be done and confronting those things. I had an old mentor that will always say, you can't conquer what you won't confront, and it just rings true in so many ways. So let's go ahead and try to jump into the thing. I think it was late last year, we talked about what I call the provider trap. You guys remember that? Where men typically will put in those 60, 80-hour work weeks and say, you know what, I'm providing. So it would be kind of their badge of honor, even though the wife ain't trying to talk to you right now. You're probably better off on the couch than in the bed. The kids don't really know who you are, because while you're providing and they got cool Christmas gifts, when they need daddy to show up, they may have to find it elsewhere. They may have to find it in mom's friend or uncle so-and-so. They can't find it in you because you ain't available. You're working 60 to 80 hours a week and you're providing, but there's some areas that are more important than that. And honestly, before I let you guys jump in, I want you to jump in and share your stories and your thoughts about the issue. But for a little while, that was me. I thought that, because I was, again, you guys know the story. I didn't have a father, so I didn't know how to do father and husband and parenting things. So I said, you know what? I'm bringing home the bacon. I'm bringing some money to this house and some good money. I'm doing my job. I don't see nothing else I need to be doing. they were so dumb and misguided, but I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So I learned those big lessons early on in our marriage, almost 30 years now this year. So I learned a whole bunch of stuff now. I'm in the garden. I'm washing dishes. I'm doing clothes. I'm kicking around in the garage, but actually doing something that, I don't have to do a whole lot in that regard, to be real, but I'm doing what I can do. So if you guys jump in on that provider track and what that looks like and what you guys think about it and what you've even seen in your own lives. Go for it.
I'll jump in first again. I lived through that for a while. I had my own medical billing consulting company. So you have to go all around the state and the city trying to get the business. I opened up doctors' offices. I set them up with whatever they needed in order to open up their business. Because there's two things I know. There are great doctors who are horrible businessmen, and they're horrible businessmen but are great doctors. So there's always that person that need that. So for 4 years, I did not see my family because I was out there hustling, working, hustling. And I grew up in that hustle mentality. My dad was out there hustling. My sister does. So we grew up like that. So that's what we were supposed to do. We're supposed to be the hustlers and the providers and bringing back the money and then whatever. But we weren't taught to the emotional part behind that. So that's where the danger was. I didn't know my kids for 4 years. When I turned around, they were gone. They were grown. I turned around, I was like, whoa, and the wife was, we weren't in a good place, obviously. But, you realize that at the time you thought that you were providing that was the right thing to do. You weren't taught, you're not there to be, I was raised that emotions are separate than what your responsibility is. My responsibility was to give money to my family, feed them, and that the emotional part doesn't mix with that. So I didn't see it, that I thought I was doing something right. I didn't notice that until one day my children state that was daddy's bad time because they don't know. They didn't know me. I didn't see them. I saw them once a week sometimes. So yeah, I can relate to that really, really well. So
what happened that made you go from performing to providing? Was there a single incident that kind of said, you know what, I got to turn this ship around? I'm going down with it.
Well, I'm pretty transparent in my stuff. So me and my wife were at the verge of divorce based on all that was going on. Okay. So it was it wasn't ugly, but it was getting to that point where I was going to move out and everything. And my wife had a seizure in the night before I was moving out. She had a seizure, and they realized that she had a tumor in her brain that had been growing since she was a kid, and it just put pressure on her brain. Thank God it wasn't cancerous, but it was scary. That put me into realization, like, wait a minute, she dies, who's going to take care of the kids? Like, oh man, I have not stepped up like that. What have I done? My wife needs me now. So to heck with the business. I totally dropped it. I lost a lot of money, but I two things I realized. My faith told me you're responsible, but you're providing the way that you need to provide right now, which is your heart and your soul and your energy. Money comes later. And that's what made me realize, her almost dying on me, realizing, God, it wasn't that serious, that important, So yeah.
Thanks for being transparent, but that's
no worries.
It's awesome to hear that, so we can learn from that. All right, BD, Rory, which one of you guys want to jump in?
I'll hop in on this one and follow what Xavier was talking about, right? Because that's what he knew. That was the only thing he knew, and I think we have to. We all know I am not a politically correct person on this show, but we have to be really careful in this conversation, because the right thing often when it comes to something like relationship and parenting styles has to do with a date more than an actual style. There are a lot of men who this is all they know, and you can't say it's wrong if it's the only thing they've ever known they were supposed to do and they're doing it to the best of their ability. right? I'll give you an example. My father-in-law, I love the man to death. If you see this, the utmost respect from the bottom of my heart, man. He was on his own at the age of 14 because his dad was a piece of crap. He raised himself, finished his own education, worked his butt off every day of his life. Now, he worked, and he is one of those 70, 80, 100-hour week guys because he'll work all week, 5 days a week or longer if they got overtime, and he is out of the house at 4 a.m. He is not back till 7 o'clock. He has dinner. He has a bowl of ice cream. He watches some news and goes to bed. And he's up and gone again. And on the weekend, he's working side jobs all day, every weekend. Why? Because his children never went a day without food in their stomach, without clothes on their backs, without the essential needs they needed to survive and to be loved. My mother-in-law did her best to love them. My father-in-law absolutely loves his children to the best of his ability. There's no question in my mind, especially as my wife is the oldest of 4. There's no question in my mind that his children know he loves them, and he has loved them their entire lives. And he has done everything he can, right? Because he parented the way he knew how, and the way he was raised was he provided. Now you go to my dad. My dad is a very different example. My dad was a minister for 40 years. My father was very vulnerable. My father was very emotional. He was also 6'5" and 350 pounds. And I watched him body check a guy who was playing floor hockey and hit me too hard when I was a kid. You know, he was dad. He couldn't fix a car to save his life, but he'd run and play sports with us and do all kinds of stuff with us, right? He was much more vulnerable and much more performing and being the very present, very active, very emotionally connected father than my father-in-law was. Both of them great men. Both of them excellent fathers. But we have to be really careful on the topic, because if all you've ever known was this is how you do it, then you're not wrong. Right and wrong in parenting has been defined by age ranges for a long time. Gen X parents are parents for Gen Xers, very different than parents for boomers. But they raise their kids just fine for where they were at the time, in the centuries they were raised in the decades they were raised in, because that's how you raised kids then. And all of them turned out fine. All of them blaming our parents for all the screwed up things in our heads. That's all us, dude. It had nothing to do with your parents. Stop blaming other people. We mucked ourselves up by lying to ourselves and believing that they owed us more than they did, or they were supposed to do something they didn't, which is a very new age thought. And that's dangerous. That's why we have so many kids who are unhappy right now, and so many 20 some odds who are unhappy, because we put this idea of, well, daddy should have been more present and more vulnerable with you and been more compassionate. He should have said, I love you more. And they're like, oh my God, my dad was this crappy dad. Your dad wasn't a crappy dad. Your dad did what he knew how to do. He took care of you. He didn't know he was supposed to do all those things. It's the argument of modern relationships versus older relationships. Men didn't know we were supposed to be vulnerable in front of women. We knew we were supposed to go to work and take care of our families and be manly men, right? So we have to be really careful with this conversation, because we got a lot of brothers out there that we can alienate who are doing the very best they know how by what they were taught. And they don't know that they're supposed to be vulnerable and neat and present with their kids. That's not what they were taught. We haven't changed the script on what we're changing men. We're trying to do that here, but we have to be really careful in that conversation not to alienate men who are just doing what they're supposed to do.
Good one, man. All right. I'll jump in. First I got to take these off. I put these on to try and get a smile out of Yusuf, man, but now I can't read the chat because I'm too old. So I got to put these back on.
Put on the readers.
All right. I can actually read now. I can see all you guys. This is beautiful. I want to take a different tact. I agree with what both of you guys said. And honestly, thanks both of you guys for sharing like that. But there's another aspect, and that's kind of how men who are willing to do whatever they have to do to improve their situations, guys like that, the guys that I coach, the guys that are in my groups, they're willing to take on a lot more. They're willing to say, hey, I understand that I'm expected for this, but, what else can I do first before I blame anybody else in the family? There's a lot of guys who are taking responsibility for this kind of stuff.
Good.
And while they may not want to be vulnerable, I think something that we talk about a lot, it's called the first 48. You don't get any credit for the first 48. And that's just a fact. That's not something we're mad about in our groups. That's something that we understand. You see, when we go off and we put in the first 48 hours of work, or 40 hours of work and, an hour plus at home every night doing stuff, that's just what's expected. That's like, getting a first down in football, and then you get up and you start hooting and hollering and cheering. That's your job. That's what's expected of you. When you're a man, you got to do more than that. You can't just do your part and then come home and go, hey, I'm a hero. No, you did your part, come home, great. Thanks for not letting everybody starve, right? Because that's what we all got to do.
Mm-hmm.
There you
That's
go.
the truth.
So I think that the guys, that I talk to that understand the idea behind you get no credit for the first 48, that's what I got to put in just to get into the game. And after that, I got to go above and beyond. I got to contribute. I got to be there. I got to be present. And when you go into it with that attitude, you stop keeping score. And you stop doing that whole, well, my wife did this. And so, hey, I did more than she did. So I should be able to just sit in front of Netflix and drink a beer and go to bed. It doesn't work that way. We have to do what we have to do. It's our job to provide, but we don't get a party for it. It's the price of admission to being a father and being a husband. It's what you do after that earns you your keep and gives you your self-worth at that point.
Love it. Love both thoughts. One thing I'll say in regards to Brent's comment is I feel like we do a good job providing perspective on this show. So we have each other to be accountable to in regards to that if we think we are going to a place where we alienate anybody. So I'm not really worried about that. I think my initial point was pretty clear when we started the show off, even last week. I just feel like there are people, again, I use myself as an example at the start of this episode. There are people who think that is all that's required. And we got to challenge some of that stuff, man, because if you're using a value system from the 1800s, it can't work in 2026. It just can't. The situation was different. They were on horses and buggies. You in here driving Teslas. It's different. So we can't use that. So we got to figure out, okay, so while we're here in this place called the future, what do we do? How do we do it? What's productive and what's not? I mean, that mindset, I had to shake it real quick because I was in some challenges with my marriage, with my relationship with my 3 little princesses at the time. I had to figure some stuff out quick because I was working hard. And, the performer, which is kind of our counterbalance, they'll say yes to every little side hustle, anything, to keep bringing in more as if it helps validate who we're supposed to be as men. But when wifey walks out, because you ain't even willing to invest a little time in something that you said you care about, and your daughters, they don't want a husband that's like you. They get something that's totally different than what you may have wanted for them. It's kind of hard to not look in the mirror and say, maybe I couldn't have prevented everything, but I had a chance here to make more of an investment than just the one that comes in the form of the paycheck or a direct deposit. So that's kind of what we're talking about right here. Our boy DL's in the house. He is the host of the Low Life Show. He's talking about preaching. I don't know who's preaching. I guess it's all of y'all that's preaching over there. But good to see you, brother. Thanks for chiming in out there. We appreciate you. I know you guys sick. I know me and Rory have those conversations all the time about people who have full calendars, and it's just like their thing. Like, oh, my calendar's full, and it kind of had this little good, warm feeling over here in the left side of their chest. Oh yeah, I got a full calendar. I'm doing this thing. Tell me, Rory, how do you coach somebody? And if you haven't met them, I'm sure you will at some point. They become a client. How do you coach somebody who has that mindset? You know what? I got this full calendar. That's all I need to be focusing on. That's who I am. That's it. And I mean, I know how much you intentionally love your wife and kids. We can see it on social, and we hear about it when we talk to you. How would you coach somebody who comes to you with that kind of mindset? And you guys can chime in after Rory's done. I'm sure you have combos with people like that as well. But go ahead, Rory.
Great question. I love that, man. There's two things about that. The first one is kind of a little bit of a mirror exercise, and you kind of go through the calendar. Okay, so what's your 5 o'clock, for instance? Okay, who are you meeting with? What's the purpose? What are you getting out of that? How does that help your family? At the end of every single thing, you stop and go, how does it help your family? Right.
Ooh.
And when you get through a few of those things and there is no thing that's helping their family, it's just helping them, things like that, or maybe it's busy work, you really start to drive that point home. Then you go and you go, all right, look at all of these people that are sitting here on this calendar, and I want you to rank them in order of importance. Okay. If you lost this guy, is that going to hurt you a lot more than if you lose this guy at 2 o'clock? Okay, I got it. So he ranks everybody in importance. And then you go, all right, I want you to rank one more thing. Your wife and your kids, where are they? No guy is going to say they're below this guy or below that guy or below the other one. And you go, then how come they have no time on this calendar? If you can't get through to somebody with just one of those two simple exercises, then they have serious, serious problems and there's a serious disconnect at home. Then the conversation changes. It's no longer about scheduling. It's about priorities and it's about desire. And there's some guys who are basically giving up on it and they're like, look, I don't want to put time in the home because I feel like there's no way to fix it. Well, you get to that and then you can start fixing it. Then you can start actually getting to what's behind that, and that kind of thing. But you got to break down the barriers because there's always a simple answer. There's always a calendar answer. There's always a timing answer. There's always, I'm too busy. You got to break those down. You got to start like in the calendar, knocking it apart.
Yeah. Before you guys jump in, I want to just drop a thought real quick, man, because I don't know if you guys think I'm smart or not, but there's some things about this that I'm figuring out in like the past 9 months or so, because I'm the kind of person, and it could go back to my childhood and how I came up. It could be issues with validation that I had to battle with. It could be any of those things, or maybe none of those things. But there are times where I would say yes so much. Since I've been in the podcast space, since in 2020, since I started then, I will say yes so much that I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that I was just in my wife out of my calendar. When I started in 2020, at that time I had They Call Me Mr. U, the flagship show, that how I started, and then I added 4 more shows. I think, 3 or 4 more shows at that point. Then I would go on to other people's shows. It was about a big sports network, and I would be basically co-hosting or being on a panel of 10 different shows in a week. So my week from Sunday to Sunday was 14 or 15 shows, including my own. And I kept saying yes to guest spots, yes to come in and talk about the Packers, yes to come in and talk about the draft, yes to come in and talk about baseball or whatever it is. And my wife was like, so where do I fit in? And that's the gut punch of a lifetime. Because especially when it's just you and her, you empty nesting, it's like, dude, vacation, go for a ride together, go get some ice cream, and and just enjoy the cool breeze, go for a walk. I mean, those little things we neglect because we think it's like, oh, I'm not doing anything, I'm not functioning like people around me, the environment says I should be functioning. And I didn't realize that I was. So I'm just putting myself out here, just being honest about it. It's not hard to fall into that trap. We got to ask ourselves, why are we saying yes to all these other things? Is the question we need to be asking ourselves. Maybe we can touch on it throughout the course of the episode today, but I want to let Brent and Hobby kind of chime into the point that Rory made about, when you run into somebody who feels like their calendar being full is the end game, it's the goal. How you guys feeling about that? Have you met or talked to folks or counseled folks who had that same kind of mindset? What'd you share with them? Action.
Bless you.
Bless you.
That.
How can I say? I haven't met anyone specifically like that, but I have spoken to people who, in the podcast world, they just are so excited that they want to do 20 podcasts and they want to do 20 logos and 20 things and all that. Now, I'm guilty of that. And Rory can tell you, I'm very guilty of that. I'm the famous squirrel and I move. That's just me.
Oh, same.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I hope to be that busy one day where I look at the calendar and say, yeah, but not busy enough where, like Rory said, that the family isn't there, that there's not part for that. One of the things I worked with that was I put my wife as a reviewer of when I do a podcast or when I create something. I ask her opinion, and I'll ask her, well, if you were from the outside, what do you think? So it sort of keeps her involved, but not, she doesn't want to be part, but it's involved. So that keeps me together with her in that way, instead of me doing 100 things and she's in the other side of the house, So yeah, I not met anyone like that, but I can see that mentality that way.
Okay. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. BD, go.
Oh, this is a go-to for me because I've had this conversation in so many formats, right? I fall back on the old quote of, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse, right? And this was a principle I shared with clients when I was training people in the gym as a personal trainer. This is something that I've shared with people my whole life, with friends and with people I coach in various positions, right? And it can apply to relationships. It can apply to your work. It can apply to any situation, but it all comes down to prioritization. My go-to is always when I get busy, I go to my calendar. I live off my calendar, but you'll find blocks of time with my children to make sure I don't overschedule myself where I'm not spending time with them, and times with my wife. So you'll make sure I'm spending time with her each week, right? Because there are days we pass in the night. I'm not going to lie. There are days I barely saw her yesterday, and I don't think I'm going to see her hardly at all Saturday. But when people tell me they don't have the time, the first thing I want to sit down and do and ask and talk to them about is I want them to pull out the timer on their phone. As you guys know, you can grab your phone, right? And look at actually how many hours you're spending on everything on your phone. It's built into your phone. And if you want a hard wake-up call, honest to goodness, you pull that up and look at where you're spending your time and how many hours you spend on your phone total and on which apps. Dude, you are in for a gut punch. All of us do it. It is so easy. It's designed to be addictive. All of us are guilty of doing it. And so, that's a quick answer for me, for most people. And it's exactly that. Every time someone goes, I'm busy, I'm like, all right, well, what are you doing today? Let's walk through your schedule day. What exactly does busy look like for you? Because my days, I run 17-hour days. Am I busy the whole time? No. Do I have things on and off through that whole time? Yes. Right. But if I can still find time, everybody else can still find time. Yeah, that's reasonable. So that's the first, we just pull out that calendar. It's all right, let's define busy. What are you doing today? How much time did you spend 5 minutes with your wife today? Right. My wife and I started out this morning. I finished my first show. I get up at 3:45 and I record at 4:05 in the morning. I have to have it out by 5:30. And then I get it published out and I go out and I help my wife get ready for work. And, we had 15 minutes. She was still getting ready for work, but I sat with her. I talked to her. We talked about our day. We talked about what's going on. And for 15 minutes, it was just me and her. Right. But that was 15 minutes where we were present with each other while we were doing things we don't have to think about. If we can squeeze that in, anybody can squeeze that in. So it's just about poking holes in people's misbelief in the fact that they're busy, because most people aren't near as busy as they think they are. Not when you start knocking out scrolling time, playing Wordscape or whatever you're playing on your phone, flinging pigs or whatever they play these days on phones. I don't know. I haven't gamed on a phone in a long time. But when you start taking all that crap out, it's amazing. You got a whole lot of time in your schedule, and people just don't actually analyze that and go hour by hour.
That makes sense, man. Yeah, misalignment just hides behind movement a lot of the time. Maybe sometime this month we should try that. There's an exercise that we can do openly and be good with that. Get our phones out and show how much time we spent for the whole week leading up to that Thursday episode. Wow, that would be really, really gutsy for us to do that. Let's talk about it offline. But DL has a great comment. I love it. I love his heart with this. He says, the giving of attention is the first most pivotal act of love. Crazy to think one could be so busy doing stuff that loved ones are neglected. Yeah, that says a lot. And I love that coming from a brand new husband, a brand new spouse. I love that he's thinking like this already, because a lot of husbands kind of put that on the back burner. I mean, for me, I felt like, and I know that some of you may already be doing this. You may all be doing this. I felt like I had to create a system because I felt like even after that story I just told you about when I was doing all those podcasts, I had to cut that junk out and cut out a network of 23,000 people and say, you know what, I can't do this stuff anymore. Now they call me Mr. U back, so I'll be talking sports on there again. But the point is that I needed to cut that stuff out at the time. It was not, I didn't have the capacity to handle the kind of workload I was putting out. I was doing like 5 or 6 shows a day, seriously, a guest spot or my own stuff, seriously. And it was like 7 days a week, including Sundays. And I was like, yo, I can't keep doing it. My wife was like, it was not a fun situation. But I have a system now where even though I have 4 shows, these all happen live or record 3 days out of the week. That's it. Connection calls, networking calls within those 3 days. The other 4 days are reserved. You ain't getting them. If it's Monday, if it's from Friday to Monday, you can't have it. And I got to do that. That hurts feeling that people are messed up because one day I record is Friday. I can't come on your show then. Friday through Monday, those days are locked in. I got to do that. So we have an understanding. And I have a better household as a result. My wife knows that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm going to be busy. Don't even stress about it. I'm going to be up early, and I'm probably going to be up a little bit later than I would normally be wanting to be up, doing stuff regarding these 4 shows or connection calls or anything in the business marketing realm. Outside of that, that's it. I just feel like, and I'm not a poster child for this. I'm figuring out how this works. It's going well so far. Once I make sure I don't compromise and change my mind, let somebody get a little Friday here and there. As long as I don't do that kind of stuff, I'm okay. But how do you guys feel? Do you guys feel like the system is the answer? Whatever you say, I'm gonna still keep doing what I'm doing. So don't worry about that part. But in regards to a system, do you feel that plays a part in being able to handle some of this workload and making sure you devote time and schedule time for the important things in life? Do you feel like creating a system is important? Have you done that? Did that make sense to you guys personally?
I think there's a season for everything, right? Like right now, I already said I'm in the big middle of a big transition with my business.
Oh yeah.
And so my wife and my kids both know I'm working a lot longer days and I'm working. It's like my free time is very limited. I have one night a week that is still blocked off exclusively for my children. Nothing from 4 p.m. till they go to bed happens that afternoon except for them. That's it. Nothing. I don't clean. I don't cook. I don't do anything. That's it. Right. That's their time. It's on my calendar and it is as sacred as anything that makes me money, if not a lot more. And then I have one time usually with my wife, but a lot of times it's, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before we go to bed or something. But they know right now that is not normal. That's this big transition. Like I said, there's a phase when you're in the middle of a big change. Sometimes you have to make some personal sacrifices to make that happen because this change needs to happen for my family as well. Right now on a normal, no, I have a crucible in my calendar, man. It's like, here are the time blocks. This belongs to my wife. This belongs to my children. This belongs to this friend. Like there is a strict, it's this time, I'm done. Right.
That was my next question. I'm going to ask you. So what was it like before the big project? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's definitely a cutoff. And I started doing that when I launched my business or right after I launched my business, because I was not willing to sacrifice my family for a business. And I knew with like, I have such a obsessive personality when it comes to work. Once I start grinding, like man,
Rory's smiling. I'm smiling. Right? Inside joke, I guess.
A positive and a negative. And so I knew I had to put guardrails in to make sure it didn't drift into the negative.
I'm going to throw a little craziness at that. Me and my
A little
wife.
bit of craziness. Okay.
Yeah, just it's. I understand, the times that everybody wants to spend with their significant other. Me and my wife, if we're in the same area, we're comfortable with that. You know what I mean? We don't have to always be having conversations or all this. As long as I'm physically there and she's physically right here, that's almost enough for me all day. When she's not around or I'm not, it really, it does. So I understand we all have our times, and we all, of course, those are beautiful. I do it all the time, but just the presence of the person to me means more than just having a whole conversation or time, which I appreciate everyone doing. Men should do that a lot more often than we do. But, that's my thought on it.
Fair enough. I ain't gonna attack you, man. I wouldn't want to be in a room with her for hours and not hear her voice, not hear her heart about a situation, not hear her laugh. So that's just me. I'm in love, dude.
I want to make that clear. It's not about the silence. It's I when I hear her, because she watches her soap opera, so I hear her yelling at it or having an issue with something, or she'll come and say,
the rest can destroy a marriage. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's just if she cries, if she laughs, I know she's okay. She's there.
Copy that.
Okay.
All right. Rory's like, I got something to say about that.
Once again, man, I love what both you guys had to say, man. I really do. I've been there, man. That's why I'm kind of smirking, because I made the mistake. I was building a real estate company out of nothing, and that was everything to me. And my wife was doing a fantastic job of taking care of the kids, raising them. She was a stay-at-home mom, everything. She was doing everything. And so I was like, look, she's doing that, I'm doing this. And I really thought that was okay for a while. And it was a long time ago, but I thought it was okay. And then when all of that was gone, when we lost it all, the crash, and then, bad decisions and yada, yada. But when it was all gone and you're sitting there and you're like, man, all that work I put into that, and there it is, just gone. And then I'm looking at my family going, if I could have just put all that work into that, where would I be? And you don't get to go back and do that. You don't get to go back and say, well, I'll just do this differently, because once the die is cast, the die is cast. It's over. When the time's lost, the time's lost. So very often we have to learn the hard way. I think that one of the reasons why God took all that away from me was because it had become, an idol for me. And it had become more important than him. It had become more important than my family and the whole 9 yards. And so everything I've done since then has been for them. And even now, I don't work on Sundays, man. Not, I give that time to God and my wife. And, if my kids will have me, then then to them too. But then there's other times during the week where I'll say, hey, during these times, I'm not working because I need to be with my wife during these times. And it's important to take her out to her favorite coffee place, on some mornings. So you know what? For 2 blocks, I'm not putting anything in here on this Thursday. That's just that, right? Because they're for her. And if she doesn't want to go do that, that's fine, but it's still for her. And you have to learn that. And unfortunately, most of us learn it the hard way. So if anybody's willing to listen to it, do it now before, you're sitting here. And I'd rather have you learn from my scars than from yours. So pay attention.
I don't think anybody wants to try to come back on. I'm like, yeah. That part. Brent, do you have something you want to say about that? You're smiling. You okay?
Oh no, I'm seeing it from all angles, man. This is my bread and butter. I understand where Xavier's coming from, because there's a lot of times as Sarah and I approach, we're almost our 25th anniversary.
Oh, let's go. Congratulations, brother.
Nice.
Yeah, we're I think 2 weeks away. It's the 21st.
Ooh.
So there are a lot of times where, like, personally, I need proximity to my wife. After almost 25 years, dude, I still can't be close to her and not touch her. Like if I'm standing anywhere within range, if I'm sitting by her, I've got a hand on her lap, on her back.
Facts.
Like I can't not.
Hey, no, okay.
I've
might have
actually
kids
been mocked.
watching. Don't go too far.
I've been mocked over this. We've had friends of ours mock us about this. They're like, "It's so cute. You guys just can't." I was like, "Yeah, you wish, right?" And so I understand sometimes it's just the proximity, right? You got to have that closeness, but that's a holding pattern until you have some real time with them. But you have to make sure you're having that real time as well, because it is so easy, right? We actually have rules about our kids. My wife sits by me most of the time at church. My wife sits next to me. My children sit on the outside. Most time on the couch. My wife sits next to me. Our children sit on the outside. Why? And I've told my daughters point blank, I said, when y'all are gone, it's still me and her. It was me and your mom before you. It's going to be me and your mom after you. And so she's my number one priority. Like this is it. This is where everything starts and ends, right here. And I've made that very, I've got 2 daughters. I'm very clear with them on that. It's like, nope, your mom is my priority. The biggest sin my kids can commit in my house is trying to play us against each other. Like as soon as they were old enough to understand that concept, I was like, you can do a lot of things bad. If you try and play your mom against me, I will end you. Like it's, we don't even play, dude. You can lie to me.
Game over.
They can go steal a car. I will be less angry than if they try and play their mom against me. Like just straight up, I won't care as much. And I'm with Rory.
For Father's Day.
I'm with Rory. Like you have to. So many of us get sidetracked, right? And that's why I said I had to put guardrails in mine, because I knew, Rory, like that is I'm so prone to that tunnel vision. I get on a project and I'm in it and I live it and I breathe it and everything else in the world disappears. And so I had to, when I started business for myself, I had to establish guardrails because I knew I would screw up my relationship with the way I am. And so, yeah, for a lot of guys, it's so, we don't see it because we're so obsessed with this idea we talked about earlier of the provider mentality, right? As long as I'm providing a paycheck, that's my way of saying I love you. And most guys don't understand how to say I love you otherwise. I would wager there's a lot of guys listening who could not tell you what their love languages are or what their wife's love languages are.
That's a really good book, by the way. It helps explain a lot of things. It's good. It's helpful. Oh my goodness, love languages. I don't know when we're gonna ever talk about that one. That's. I make a note that at some point we're gonna discuss love languages. That would be.
Please don't get me started on love languages.
I want to give you guys a little bit of freedom because you understand that we're going to be talking about this, excluding next week, for the next 5 weeks. Well, for 5 weeks total. Yeah, 5 weeks total. So if you got a comment about love languages, I ain't going to prohibit you, man. Spit it out. We good.
He's done with it.
He turned his camera off.
His camera off.
Rory was like, "Peace out."
Right. I'm out.
I guess the whole love language idea is something that he doesn't want to talk about, which is fine. It's okay. That's funny though. I'll ask you something. You guys, this is kind of, hope it's not a tangent. I feel like we're still in the same place. What would you say to a guy who you're talking to, and it feels, from his estimation, he's kind of searching for his assignment, and he doesn't see the value in himself? I don't think that's a question that's outside of this conversation. I don't think it is. If it is, well, answer it anyhow. But how would you guys encourage and direct somebody who's in that space? Because I feel, from what I hear from men, and you guys are all doing some level of coaching, interaction, connection, community, etc. A lot of guys, and they won't always openly admit it. I was in a conversation recently. I guess we call it a discovery call recently, and the person was, when I first met them, they would give me a lot of highlights, about their life. And we start getting into the coaching box. You know what I'm saying? This This is where I live. This is my cage. You ain't getting over on me in that cage. I run that square. I know what's happening. And I'm asking questions, and now we're getting down to the real. Guy's searching for his assignment. He doesn't even know why he's doing what he's been doing all this time. And he's questioning whether it even makes sense for him from in conjunction with his value system. He's wondering if it's all worth his time. So he's scrap it and start all over again. And we're meeting guys sometimes that are searching for their assignment and they don't see the value in who they actually are. Can I say that? What do you guys say to somebody who you meet who's in that peculiar situation? What do you say to them?
I think that happens to a lot of us, and I think that happens to a lot of guys. We talked about this from a couple different angles, maybe not quite head on like this, but so many of us get our value. We get our self-worth from our job. We talked about that before, but then that's the only place we get it. You know, and very often it's because we have convinced ourselves that, you know, our wives don't respect what we're doing, or our wives don't give us that credit, you know, for the job. The fact of the matter is that we haven't given ourselves credit for anything outside of the job. You know, we look at it and go, hey, I'm not really needed here. My wife has that covered. Where am I needed? I'm needed at my job. That's why I get paid. You have to, when you're dealing with a guy who doesn't have that kind of value system, that's deep rooted. That's very deep rooted, and that's the type of thing that requires a very, very, very tough conversation. But you gotta confront that head on, and you got to say, look, if you got fired from your job tomorrow, and it can happen easily, who are you? Where are you? What's your next move? When people have to start answering questions about, like, hey, if I didn't have the job, then what do I do when I wake up? Then you can try to find try and find a track to what's important, you know, what's important past that, you know what I mean? So it's I'm being serious. You're throwing up love language stuff in my face. Get out of here, man. I'm giving you gold over here, you know.
I think it's a legit question.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness. No, but that's good though. I mean,
anyway,
I'm sure you see those folks, because there's more of us than I think we think that are in that spot.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I find myself a little bit further along than that now, but all the things that I was doing with my life, especially since I moved down to the South from New York, I had to scrap a whole bunch of stuff I thought was the thing. And when you're at a certain age, I'm sorry, people can lie to you and say it doesn't matter, or you're just finding yourself, but there's some scrutiny that comes your way when you're a man of a certain age and you scrap everything and you're starting over. People are out here killing people like that, man. Your family's even digging in on you. My mom, the things she was saying, I'm like, I'm trying to get this thing right. I've been building this thing wrong. When I do Teachers and Talk, I always kind of go to that discussion about the Surfside condominium disaster in Miami. I always talk about it because y'all built this big condo, luxury condo, and you knew it was a foundational issue, and you knew it. And you spent weeks and months arguing about it while people were living in there in peril, and they didn't even know it. So when I realized that my foundation thing wasn't good, I had to scrap that thing and start all over. It didn't matter if it was at age 30, or in my case, almost age 40. I had to go ahead and find out what should I be doing? What's the right thing for me? Not what everybody wants me to do. Where should I be? I found it. I know where I am. I'm in my groove. I'm in my sweet spot, so to speak. But look how late it was. And it was scrutiny that came with that. So the guys you're talking about, Rory, there's a lot of guys like that, man. I'm sure Brent and Howdy may have some examples. I love to hear those. But you know, there's a lot of guys like that, man. They're trying to figure out what their assignment or assignment purpose, fill in the blank, use what we're doing to use. But that's what's happening. And they're afraid. Some of them in their 50s. And they retired from a place and like, man, I retired from this job and it doesn't mean anything in the big picture. I did that bid 35 years, whatever retirement is, whatever it is, and it nothing. Now I'm here just hanging out, trying to figure out what's next. Because purpose was never established. It was just the performance or the providing track that we were talking about earlier. But go ahead, Brent, Hobby, you guys, if you don't want to jump in, we can move on. It's okay, but I love to hear you guys' thoughts though.
I'll give you an example. For myself, I became disabled about 5 years ago. So I'm
Sorry to hear that, brother.
in a wheelchair, and I have to do stuff like that. So I realized later, after all that, like you said, people didn't know their purpose. I didn't know my purpose till I'm almost 56 years old. I'm 58 now. So I didn't know my purpose till after I recovered. And I saw that this is what God wanted me to do. This is what I was led to do. All these other things that happened led to this. And this is where I'm focusing. And now I see the fruits of that. And I see the labor of that. So I came into the game very late. But to me, it's never too late to realize what your purpose is. You know, that God sometimes doesn't tell you what your purpose is until it could be the end of your life, and he'll know your purpose. Oh, you may never know your purpose, but it's the way God does things in your life and how you move. And so that's the way I see it. God took me from a really dark place and said, I'm going to make all this stuff happen. And it's been happening, and it's almost scary in a way, but you know, I got a big God behind me, right?
Thank you, brother. BD, what you think?
I got a friend who's living this right now, man. One of my best friends just lost his job after years of working for the same company. And he is, let's see, I'm 46, so he's hitting 50 this year. And he's been in the same industry for decades, but he's been with the same company in various capacities going on 18 years almost. And he literally just lost his job last week. And I love him to death. He's a brother to me. And he has always struggled with finding value in himself. This has always been a big, deep-seated issue for him. And I think there are a lot of men. I think there are a lot more men who would ever than admit that, who really have self-esteem issues. I think that's why men so easily identify themselves by their professions, because that's where we get our praise. That's where we get our, oh, you do this well. Oh, okay, well, I'm this, right? And we've all introduced ourselves. I laugh. The first time I introduced myself as a podcaster instead of an IT guy, like mind blown, because it was like this moment of identity. I was like, oh my God, I just called myself a podcaster, right?
You did it.
It was a huge mental transition for me, because it wasn't like on the phone. Like I was face to face with a person at an encounter. But so many of us pull our identity, and I think it's because so many men struggle with self-esteem. And there are people who struggle with self-esteem from some really, really deep issues. Professional help level, way more than I could ever help somebody. And there are some people who it's a more surface level that I can maybe walk through that with some. But my friend has always struggled with that self-esteem issue, and his identifier is I'm this, and he's great at his job. But that has always been where he sources value, that and his work with young people in youth ministry. And so to have this hit at 50 years old, like he is forlorn right now. He is almost inconsolable. I'm on the phone with him all the time.
Wow, sorry to hear this, man.
Such a huge common issue for all of us men, because it's the only way a lot of men know how to measure their own value. Right? There's I don't know who said it. I've seen it quoted so many times now. It's only women, babies, and dogs are valued just for existing. Right? In reference to the fact that men are not. Once you pass a certain age, a man has no value to the world unless he is providing something. That is just a cold, hard fact. And I know some people will argue that, but seriously, only women, dogs, and children. That's it. And so because of that, men are taught their whole lives from the time we're young that our only value comes from us providing something. So many of us build that identity based on what we provide. Right. And this is a hard issue. And depending on where it sources from, like I said, it ranges from professional help to trying to get somebody to see themselves through your eyes, which is not a short-term conversation. You can't,
Yeah.
like, my friend, we've been friends for 20 years almost. And we have been working on this for 20 years because it is the core of his identity. He's a believer. He knows God's love him, that God loves him. He's worked in the church. He knows God loves him, and he still can't love himself the way he should because he was told he was a piece of worthless crap his whole life. And so, like, I think this is one of the great uphill battles men are facing right now that we need to figure out how to get a handle on. As men, as a society, this is something we desperately need to get our hands around, because this is why the self-harm rates are so high among men.
Yeah. I want to ask this question. I want to end the show with this if we can. I want to get you guys back to your lives and everything. I don't know where the data comes from, but it's something that I think the researchers call psychological absence. I haven't heard of this, but I guess the point of it is that they're saying, the researchers saying that work-related stress, because I love what you got finished saying, Brent, that's what made me think about this, that work-related stress leads to fathers being physically absent at home. Present, but emotionally unavailable. It doesn't explain how that happened. I didn't do enough digging to even find out whether that's so, but just as a short answer as possible, do you guys believe that that's possible, true, or just bogus? Those are the only three options you get. Possible, absolutely true, or hogwash. What do you guys think?
Absolutely true.
I agree. Absolutely true. Absolutely.
Could be true, but more than likely bogus.
Can y'all give quick explanation? I'm doing this for you guys' sake. It's not for me. I got time. We can hang a little bit, but I'm trying to just respect you guys' time. Give me some explanations for each of your answers.
Go ahead, Rory. You're the counter one on this one. Lay it
I'm
down.
the counter one. Yeah. I think that we're always physically exhausted. I think we're always completely stressed. I think we are that way from the moment we enter this world. There's expectation on us from the moment we're born. Don't cry. Don't be weak. Don't let anything happen. Don't misbehave. Don't get distracted, or you have ADHD. Everything under the sun happens to us. So we are constantly under a microscope. If we're too tough, we're toxic. If we're not tough enough, then we're wimps. It doesn't make any difference. We can't win no matter what we do. As young men, as old men, we fall into the same traps. And so basically what we've learned from the same society that has condemned us all this time, what we've learned is that this is our excuse to get out. I'm overwhelmed. I hate that word. I do not use that word. I'm overwhelmed is a state we're always in. And so to me, I don't really believe that it's the cause of the stuff. I think it's a great excuse for us to finally get a break, just to be able to say I'm overwhelmed. Because what's anybody going to say? Oh, you can't be overwhelmed, right? You're not allowed to say that. Fact of the matter is we're not too tired. We're not overwhelmed, and we're not weak. We're not failing. We are lacking purpose. And if we have the purpose we need to have, and we are dialed in on that purpose, then we aren't tired anymore. Then we're not overwhelmed anymore. We're not lacking anything anymore. We have drive, we have vim, we have vigor, and we have purpose. And I think that's the biggest issue.
Thank you, sir. Harvey, right. BD, I don't know who's next, but
I'll let you go. I'll let you go and take this one.
All right. So I think it's a semantical argument, right? Because we're talking about men being overwhelmed by work to where they don't show up well at home. And I don't think the word overwhelm is the correct word. I think it's emotional capacity, our EQ, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a matter of I used to use the example in the gym all the time, right? If I take a gallon jug in the gym and I poke a hole in it, eventually the water's going to run out, right? So you want the most juice to get through the bad stuff, the heavy stuff. And so you put that at the top, right? Well, it's well documented in psychology that your ability to make good decisions works the same way. You only have so many good decisions in you through the day. And the longer you go, the worse your decisions get. Same thing, I believe, is true of emotional capacity, right? At the beginning of our day, we're at our peak. We wake up, we have our coffee, we're fresh, we're good. We are at our best that we're going to be all day. Like that is the absolute best version of us all day. But then we go to work.
Folks, that's a scary competition. That's their best.
I know, right? It's rough. But we go to work and all of a sudden we start piling on. You didn't do this right. Oh my God, you got this line right. And we start piling all this stuff on. And because it's part of our identity, because in the back of our minds, we're terrified of failing to provide for our family. And so much is riding on us doing well at this job that we spend all of our emotional currency at work. It's not a matter of overwhelm. It's by the time we get home, we don't have the healthy emotional cycles capacity to deal with our family in the best possible light, right? I know my daughter deserves the best version of me. And if I can't give that, I am likely to kind of push her away and shield her because I know she doesn't want leftover daddy. Leftover daddy is kind of an asshole and can be really difficult and Oh, sorry. My bad.
Got slap an E on here for this week as well.
That's only one. You have to hit 3 words before you hit an E. Like, at least according to the rating system. I did look this up. 3 words. But I know that she is not going to get the best version of me. So I'm more likely to push her and my wife away when I'm already diminished to that extent, especially if I've had a rough day. So I don't think it's overwhelmed is the right word. It's we actually tend to isolate ourselves because we know that the version of us that our family is going to get is going to be less than they deserve. And we know we're likely to react more inappropriately. We're not likely to hear it or bear it or deal with it in the frame of mind we should. And so to protect them in our own minds, we justify it and go, I'm protecting them by keeping them at a distance right now. Now, it's not right. It's not the ultimate solution, but I think that's what happens with a lot of men.
All right, Javi.
Coming from that whole thing, I worked in an industry where all I did all day is argue. That's all I did all day. I worked in healthcare. All I did was argue rules, regulations, everyone. So I understand by the time I got home, I didn't want to say boo. Don't tell me, don't answer a phone, don't let a phone ring, nothing. Because you were so emotionally, like you said, DB, into what you were doing that you have nothing left because you took it all that. And it took me to lose it to realize all that energy was wasted in those things when taking it home, it wasn't necessary to take it home. But I can understand where you get so frustrated. You need a time to just chill. I don't want to hear nothing right now. So that's my thought on it.
That's good.
Let me just throw one little counterpoint out here, only because I started it, so I think it's only fair I get to respond one last time. And I'll be very quick. I'll be very, very quick. All right. And for those of you who are Star Trek fans, let's just throw out one of the best quotes in the entire world, and that is,
"Live long and prosper."
Well, that's beautiful too, but I don't. It's the Kobayashi Maru, man.
The Kobayashi Maru.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario. Mm-hmm. When I came home from work and I was exhausted, I was not anywhere near where I could be, but I gave him whatever I had. I laid on the floor and played with Spider-Man figures, even if I had to be on my back playing with this figure over my head because I couldn't move anymore. You know what I mean? So I think that there is a point where all of us, give every last drop. We all want to be better, but I think everybody here gives everything we got. I just tend to think that we have a lot more than we think we do. I think we accept the limitation long before we actually hit it. And we may say, hey, I got no emotional bandwidth left. But you know what? If you can say it, then you haven't given everything you got yet. You know what I mean? If it's written on my tombstone, then you know what? I give everything I had. And I think the guys here believe that. I really do. But I also think that very often we kind of give we give ourselves and we give other people that excuse. There's always more, man. There's always more in the well. And I think that's one of the things that makes us just incredible and gives us that power that we all have as fathers and husbands.
I love it, man. We're gonna end the show on that note. This has been good. I think just we gotta is there a rant incoming that we need to allow you to have room for, or you want to save it for next week, week after next? You good? You need to get that out?
Nah, it's entirely easy, guys. I live by this in the military. It's something they actually trained us in the military. Your brain, I actually trained my daughters with this thought, and it's 20%. Your brain, your primitive brain will shut you down at 20% usage of your physical capacity. It is a hard, documented biological imperative. Your brain saves all this extra energy from our more primitive days when we might have to run to save our lives. It is actually a skill you have to train yourself to move past 20%. So when you think you got nothing left physically, right, you're at 20%. Your brain's just trying to shut you down to protect you, so you got something left in case you got to run. This is well documented. The best lifters in the world, like the guys in the world's strongest man, record holding power lifters, they get to about 16%. That's it. Or about 6% past that. So they get to about 26%.
Wow.
It's a fractional amount. Your body always has a lot more. And Rory's right. Your brain has a lot more. Your emotions have a lot more, but it is a skill set you have to develop, be able to tap into it.
Copy that. Thank you guys for being so transparent tonight and sharing these gems. You guys that are watching and listening, I hope you got something out of it. A lot of folks are doing the spring break thing and making that an excuse to not be on this show. We'll talk about that later. But for now, it's been a fantastic series so far. I'm excited about the rest of it. And I think I end the show by saying this because you guys, I'm going to keep on doing this. I'm just giving you a heads up in advance. I believe, and even though I don't fully always see it in myself as a man, just to be honest about it, husband, father, brother, son, sometimes I'm still trying to find the diamond in the midst of all of this mud. And I really believe in you guys like that, so I'm gonna keep pulling. I'm not gonna accept that this is the best we got. This is all we can do. It's never gonna happen. On your other podcast, you can do that there without no problem. You get no contest from me. But on this show, or on the work that I'm doing, I'm never gonna allow it to be the thing. It's never gonna happen. I don't mean, Rory, you laugh. I don't mean your podcast. I'm talking about when you go on somebody else's show and they talk about this kind of stuff. I don't mean your show.
Podcast, not yours.
I am not. I'm saying the people outside of our sphere of influence, the other folks who may not be as informed as you guys are. I'm not accepting that here. I believe that there's always more. I think Rory and Brent, I think you guys agree on that particular point, that we have more in us than what we've been allowing to come to the surface. So thank you guys for being transparent and making this thing a real situation. And yeah, spring break is still going on because kids run outside my house making a whole bunch of noise, and it should be at school. So yeah, spring break is still happening. So yeah, look at that. That's the queen, ladies and gentlemen, the love of my life. Love ya, boo. Well, we love you guys. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll have the audio version of the show up before 10 o'clock this evening on all your listening platforms. We're on YouTube right now. Drop some love in the comments. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let us know you love us. Facebook is live. LinkedIn is live. We'll get to Instagram later. Love you guys. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Thanks for making us part of your week. The Men's Roundtable Series out. See you on the 23rd.